High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened. This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Goodbye, home run. Don Mattingly. Taco makes one. Deep left field. Down the line. That ball is out of here. Out of here.
Welcome back to another episode of Table Setters, covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve, joined by my tag team partner, Devin. What's up, man?
What's going on, dude? I'm very excited about this episode because just yesterday, Martin Maldonado signed, which I thought was big news, and we have somebody to talk to about that, which is what we all want to hear.
The Dream Part 2, baby. Can't wait.
Well, without further ado, we're excited to welcome Matt Devine from the Devine Sports Gospel, your go-to source for all things San Diego Padres, as the voice behind one of the most passionate, I have to say, and entertainment platforms for Padre fans. Matt, covering all things and everything you guys need to know from in-season drama and, of course, all the hot stove stuff. You can follow him on Instagram at Devine Sports Gospel and on the X Machine at Devine Gospel. Thanks for joining us, Matt. How's it going tonight?
Yeah, Steve, Dev, appreciate you guys, man. Extremely excited to chat. I know it's late out there in New York, not as late here in California. It's about 7 o'clock right now, but very excited to chat. I know, your fan base is probably listening to this like, what is this guy going to talk about? What an awful offseason for the San Diego Padres so far, man. 24 scoreless. Our ownership is a succession episode. We have signed Tyler Wade and Martin Maldonado. Might not seem like the sexiest episode, but I'm gonna try to spice it up for you fellas, and we'll work some stuff out.
We appreciate that, and
Yeah, man.
I gotta say that's why we've become such big fans of yours. Like, it's just super entertaining stuff what you guys do over there, no matter what you're talking about. Because I know you talk about all San Diego sports.
Yeah.
And I will say, just before we dive into actual Padres stuff, give us a little background about how you guys got started, like when you got this thing going.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my name's Matt. I am, so I'm 28. I went to school grew up in San Diego, born and raised. And my brother is actually the co-host of the DSG as well. His name's Mike. He's 2 years younger. We both went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. So not sure if you guys have heard of that school, not the biggest sports school, which is hilarious because we're big sports guys. But yeah, so me and my brother, when we were in SLO, obviously big fans of just sports in general. And I think part of my take came out like 2015, 2016. And I started listening to that. And I was like, man, this is sick. I love sports. And just like you guys and everybody and their brother, like, let's start a podcast, bro.
Oh, yeah.
And, we got a lot of shit from our buddies about it. But it actually started as a full sports podcast. So we were talking about everything, NFL, NBA, all that stuff. COVID happened. And once COVID happened, we started to kind of get a little bit more into it. And we would have guests on all the time from all aspects. We had, lacrosse players, water polo, like all different types of guys and girls on. And, we started to realize our true passion's always just been San Diego sports. We used to be huge Chargers fans, not anymore once they moved to LA, but diehard Bolts fans growing up, huge San Diego State Aztecs fans. And the Pods have always been a huge part of our lives. Me and my brother both played baseball up until high school. It wasn't good enough to play college, but still obviously love baseball. And thought, man, what would be awesome is kind of just going all in on the Pods and going all in on San Diego. So probably around 2021, we started doing that. And it started to pick up steam in 2022. Obviously, we had a really fun year. Knocked off the Dodgers when they won 113 games in the NLDS. We started posting on TikTok and social media, and that's kind of how we got a following, is through that kind of short form content. And since then, we've just kind of been going balls to the wall on it. And it's been really cool. San Diego, obviously, beautiful place, incredible people. And you think of it not as a sports town, which I think is a false assumption. I think there's a lot of really diehard sports fans in San Diego that really want to see a winner. I think because we have these beaches and, really nice areas, people kind of underestimate that sometimes. And our goal is to kind of bring that to light and show, a group of people that really want a winner and really love their sports. And we love to be, one of the people kind of, put it on for the city.
I love that you say that too, because Sorry, Steve. I was going to say
for it.
San Diego, like you see how electric it's become at Petco with a good product on the field. And you see what the Chargers have become in LA, like an afterthought, like their 8th sports team on the list of teams that are cared about. Raiders too, like in Vegas. It's just like you leave these passionate bases to go to these other places that seem sexier. And it just, I don't know. It's not the same excitement level. Obviously the Chargers,
Man.
I don't know. It doesn't seem the same with them in LA.
Them leaving was the worst, dude. I vividly remember it was like 2017, January, got the Bleacher Report notification that it was like for sure. Obviously, the rumors were all there. It was like losing. Like I never really had gone through a bad breakup or anything like that. So I was like, dude, this sucks. And watching them obviously move to LA. The day I actually stopped being a fan was when they posted on Twitter after the 2020 NLDS. Don't know. It was COVID. Obviously, we give the Dodgers fans a bunch of grief about the Mickey Mouse ring and stuff. We all wanted it, so that's the reason why we were giving them grief. But 2020, we lose to the Dodgers in the NLDS, and the Chargers Twitter account posts like "Go LA" or something with a picture of like Dave Roberts, and that was when I was like, you know,
what? Yeah.
Philip Rivers, favorite NFL player of all time. Like we were diehards, man, and that city loves the Chargers. There's still a lot of friends. It's actually a really big issue. Is like. You either love the Chargers still or you hate them. It's like a whole issue in San Diego sports wise. But the fact that they did that and just acted like, 60 years of history was just gone.
Brutal.
And that they're trying to be like the 9th most popular team, like you said, Dev.
Yeah.
Kind of hit me in the heartstrings a little bit. So I was really angry at them for 2 years. Now I'm more apathetic. I'm kind of like, they're just a loser franchise. So I don't really care. But I miss them a little bit, to be completely honest, as a San Diego sports fan.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the same follow-up question about that. Like, what's the process like for that? Like, are you clearing your closet of the jerseys and just like tossing them in the Goodwill bin? Like,
it's actually exactly that, Steve. Yeah, I think my last jersey I purchased was a Joey Bosa Chargers jersey. Went to the last game at Qualcomm, which is now torn down. It's now called Snapdragon Stadium, and San Diego's getting a MLS team, so SDFC, which is starting in February, which will be cool. But Qualcomm is where the Padres used to play before Petco Park. Used to be known as Jack Murphy Stadium, too, if you guys have, back when Tony Gwynn was playing. But I was at that last game, man, and it's just, when you lose a team, similar to like Seattle losing the Supersonics, and there's a lot of, places that have lost teams. There's no other way to like cut it than it just sucks if you're a diehard fan. You're just like this. There's so much community, and like I think people underestimate. I mean, obviously, you guys as huge sports fans, New York. One of the biggest, if not the biggest sports, capital of the United States. There's so much that comes with being a fan of a team or like being in that community, right? Like I've made so many friends through, even just a podcast of being like a Padres fan, but like growing up, going to Chargers games with like my uncle or like going to, all of these different sporting events, like those are memories that you have for the rest of your life. And it sucks as when I get older and have a family, like I won't be able to bring my kids to like a San Diego Chargers game. Like that's a huge thing that like they take away from a community just to rent a stadium in LA. And I know a lot of Chargers fans who are still fans are going to be like, oh, bitter San Diego, all that stuff. I am bitter. It sucks. You lost a team. I'm like, bro, if you were a huge fan, you'd be bitter too. So it is what it is.
So that passion had come out, and that's what originally developed this relationship with us with that great Roki rant that you guys had on there. And I'm going to play it back for everybody that didn't see it. If you guys don't follow on Instagram at Devine Sports Gospel, as I said, I'm going to play this back, and then we're going to discuss it a little bit if you don't mind.
Oh, no, let it rip.
They don't know pain. They do not know pain.
They don't know pain, bro.
Dude, that's my issue with these fuckers. My issue with these fuckers, bro, on Twitter. Oh my God, I really can't emotionally prepare myself for if he doesn't sign with us. Why do you care? You got everything. You had Shohei Ohtani making $2 million on your team.
Football team, bro. They got our football team.
Player of our fucking lifetime is on your team playing for $2 million, and you're gonna sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna crash out if we don't get Sasaki." Why the fuck would you crash out? You have everything on a silver platter handed to you. Everything. We're begging for scraps, and Sasaki is the one main course that we can maybe get. Okay, and it's dog food to you fuckers, right? But for us. This is a fillet. This is a T-bone. This is a fucking tomahawk steak. Okay? I'm tired of it.
Just quickly.
All right, so
just quickly. Wait.
That was prior to Roki, though. Yes.
I just want to say it's dog food to you fuckers should be on a shirt.
It's so good. Yeah, so that's my little brother Mike. We call him Mises. He actually used to rap. Not gonna lie, obviously, white guy rapping always gets a little bit of, people being like, "Here we go," right? Who's he trying to be? He was pretty good at rapping, so we call him Mises. And man, if you're talking passion, bro, that's your guy right there, man. If you get him a little riled up, I've always been the guy like, yo, take it easy a little bit, like I'm passionate, but like I always try to like chill out, like I don't like to ruffle any feathers. Mies he'll let it rip, man. And that's why he's my guy.
So this was obviously before the Roki decision. The writing was on the wall for a bit, but the Padres made it to the final 3 of The Bachelor with the Roses, and they finally made the decision, and Roki was going to the Dodgers. So now that the deal is done, how do you feel about the entire process that led up to Roki inevitably joining the team we all thought he was joining 6 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, I won't lie, like, sucks. Honestly, we really could have used him. Obviously, with the Padres ownership stuff, which we'll probably get into, we're not spending a lot of money. Our beloved owner passes away. Incredibly unfortunate. He was like the king of the city. Everybody loved him. He really revitalized an entire franchise with the Chargers leaving and, signing Machado, getting these guys, like kind of building a culture. Passes away. His brothers and his wife. It's a whole issue. Roki, obviously, coming over early means he's not going to get the $300 million that Yamamoto got. I really thought we had a shot. I had a feeling the Dodgers were the favorites. The video went viral. Not sure if you guys saw that of him working out on the field. A lot of stuff was kind of starting to get me hyped. I don't really know, man. I honestly, I usually try to look at like the optimistic viewpoint on every situation, just because there's not enough time to be negative. This one really stung though, strictly because of how much he's going to cost, and his ceiling's insane. I do think he's probably going to get hurt. He throws too fast, and he hasn't had Tommy John yet. And if you're, putting bets on it, I hate to say it, probably going to be out for a little bit, but being out for a little bit, making, $1 million that year to the Dodgers means nothing, right? So for us, he would have been huge. Our rotation right now with Cease being a free agent next year, Michael King being a free agent next year. Yu Darvish is 150 years old. Joe Musgrove's hurt. He would have been a huge piece, man. And the fact that we missed out on him, objectively speaking, sucks. But as you know, the DSG, we got to keep it popping, right? So we've come up with a couple of nicknames for Roke. Sasawfti's my favorite. Roki Sasaki ran away from the grind. He's Shohei's shadow. Couldn't handle it. Couldn't handle being a big dog in SD. Also, what a fucking loser. He's like, oh, I don't want to be in the big stage. I don't want to do this. He's taking pictures of LeBron 3 days later on courtside. Oh, I'm Roki. I'm like, he had a quote today. He's like, oh, first thing I want to try in America is like a burger. I'm like, dude, fuck this guy, bro. I'm so over this dude, bro. And it's like, that's how easy it is for us. Like, and, I could be sad about it and all that stuff. And like, I really wanted him. And people in our Instagram comments are great. Like, people in this chat are probably gonna be like, who is this guy? You could change tunes like that. People in our Instagram comments are like, you were literally just begging for this guy. Now you're hating on him. Yeah. That's being a sports fan, bro.
I was going to say, that's sports. Yeah.
Bro, you're a Knicks fan, man. Hey, you're a Yankees fan. Oh, wait, are you guys going to cheer Juan Soto when you're at the fucking game? Yeah,
Hell no.
Not, bro. Hell no. It's about to be Boo Central. And you were literally glazing this guy for an entire year. You almost won a World Series. I'm going to be doing that guy every second. That's what being a sports fan is all about. Roki Sasaki, he is about to hear boos. He's like, oh, I don't want to be on the big stage. Bro, that dude is going to get booed into oblivion when he plays San Diego. I cannot wait for that game, too. Also, now you guys haven't been down there, and like obviously New York sports get heated. Dude, that Dodgers-Padres rivalry is like,
oh, it's going to get real nasty.
It's nasty now, bro. Like, I was at the games in LA. I wish I would have sent you guys this clip before, but me and my brother sat in the pavilion, which is like the Dodgers, like left field, gets hectic out there, man. And our buddy, one of our best friends, is a huge Dodgers fan. So when we beat the Braves in the wild card series, he's like, yo, I bought us tickets, weekend series, got us Friday and Saturday tickets to Dodger Stadium. Like, you down to take the trolley up? I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, never been to Dodger Stadium. This is going to be sick. We're walking over to our seats. We pre-gamed a little bit, walking over to our seats. bro, I'm like, dude, isn't this area like, I'm like, this seems like a pretty like intense area. And he's like, oh no, you're chilling, bro. We walk in, bro. We are the only guys in brown and gold in like a sea of blue, bro. And we walk in and Manny Machado hits a 3-run home run first thing when we walk in. So we're like, and people forget, obviously, Dodgers win the World Series, having an incredible offseason. Padres owned that ass in 2024. We were smacking those pussies year in year. We were killing them in 2024. We walk in, man. I'm like, dude, we're about to blow these dudes out, honestly. And the Dodgers before last year, perennial chokers, the peak of choking, right? We walk in, 3-run home run. I'm like, holy shit, this is going to be the year. Obviously, Cease gives up that bomb to Ohtani with 2 outs. They end up winning that game. Dodger Stadium gets a lot of shit. Honestly, pretty fun. And the rivalry's there. And I know a lot of Dodgers fans are like, oh, I don't care about the Padres. Like, oh, little brother. It's a real thing, man. You got to believe it. And that's why I hope our ownership keeps going so that we could stay in that beef.
I will say that whole thing just now is why we love you guys and all your content. You started off the answer to the Sasaki question so calm, and you said optimistic, and about 60 seconds later, you were saying fuck this guy because he wanted a hamburger.
He has a poodle too. He's like his dog's a poodle. Also, there's not. I like animals, right? I'm not. Mother Teresa. I like animals, though. I have a really awesome cat. I have a dog. My parents have a dog. Love my dog. The fact that I hate that decoy, Shohei's dog. I hate Shohei's dog. I hate decoy. And now Roki has a poodle, and he wore his poodle on his socks. Of course, that Sasawfti has a poodle, bro. I'm like, this guy's the worst. He's the worst. I can't believe I love Yama Meatballs more than both those guys now, bro. It's crazy.
Oh, my God.
Yama Meatballs at least doesn't have a fake dog that he comes trobbing around. Maybe if he gets blown up in a couple starts, he'll start bringing around a golden doodle or something.
All right, so this is a tough transition, but
yeah,
you
sorry
mentioned
about that.
no. You mentioned the late owner Peter Seidler and how beloved he was amongst all of you guys out there, and you kind of gave us a little bit of a reason why. Just talk a little bit more about his legacy and why he was so beloved by the Padres fans.
Yeah, absolutely, great question. So Peter, Papa Pete. I wonder if I'm actually wearing that shirt right now. I'm not, but I have a Papa Pete shirt I was wearing earlier to the gym, which is funny. So for people who don't know, Peter Seidler's from the O'Malley family. So the O'Malley family used to own the Dodgers. So Peter was, given this insane amount of wealth growing up, right? Very wealthy guy. And he is like the number one philanthropist in like San Diego. Like there's stories of him after buying the team that like after the games, he would walk around Petco Park. There's some areas that aren't like the best, and a lot of homeless people, and a lot of just kind of struggles. And to be completely honest, and Peter would walk around and like give out food and give out money. Like he was a saint, dude. Because a lot of people get given, and I wouldn't say a lot of people, but there's people that get given insane amounts of wealth just from birth, right? And there's a lot of people that are kind of assholes about it. Peter Seidler was like he was truly a saint, and what he did for the community, not just about the baseball team, but like what he did was just awesome. Because you see this guy, you're like, he doesn't need to do this. He's loaded. Like, he doesn't need to do any of this stuff. And he just did it. And he went in and he's like, I want to, a big quote that people always talked about was like, slay the dragon up north. And I was talking about the Dodgers. Hey, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna be like completely. The Dodgers are one of the. I'm 28. They've been, the best team for a long ass time, man. And the Padres have always been kind of an afterthought. Chargers leave. Peter Seidler finally gets like full control of the team around like 2020. The dude just bought in, man. And signing Manny Machado, like doing these things that in San Diego we didn't even think were possible. And the fact that he did that, and then you see the fan base, and it's crazy, man. You walk in SD, especially during the playoffs, every other person was wearing brown and gold. Everybody was wearing a Padres hat. A lot of transplants in San Diego too. Obviously, if you could choose to live somewhere, why wouldn't you live in San Diego where it's like 67 degrees right now? They made something. Like they created a community that really needed it sports-wise when the Chargers left. And Peter Seidler was the guy to do that. And, he spent some money and he was like, I'm going to make it back. And like, I'm going to build a winner. And he did to an extent. Obviously, we haven't won a World Series, but he built something. And that's what really sucks about what's going on right now is that his brothers and his widow or ex-wife or wife, Sheil, who is well beloved in the Padres community because she was always there too. they're in like a full-on fight over who's going to own the team. So it's really not a good situation. And I wish I could talk more on it. I just don't know what's going to happen. Like it's one of those things where like, I love the team and I hope the best for the team, but it's really sad because like he was such a beloved guy. And I can't even imagine like having a close family member like that pass away. And now you have this huge asset that everybody's fighting over. It's just a really sad situation.
And it feels like it's a little bit underreported over here, at least. We discussed it on the podcast last week, and it has crucial consequences for what's going to be happening in the future. Because you mentioned if Seidler was still alive, obviously San Diego would be a better place. But a lot of what went down, Scott Boras came out and made the report that Juan Soto never would have been a free agent. He would have been locked up, and that would have been the case. But that's part of the conversation. I think with Peter Seidler no longer there, like he was the key, as you mentioned, for extending Fernando Tatis, signing Manny Machado. Yeah. All those pieces fell into place under his guidance, and I think it's gone off the rails since he's been gone.
It's brutal. It's honestly brutal. Not only was it's like one thing if you lose a guy that like really wanted to win, but he was a great guy. That's the worst part. There's some owners that you're like, I don't know if this guy's like a good dude. He was the man. And he was doing so much good for the community. And he obviously had his illness and he passed away. And it's just like, it's really a bummer. But on an optimistic side, you look at what he did, right? Perennial small market team. And he built something. It shows when you see all these teams that are crying poor all the time. I mean, look at your Mets right now, right, Dev? Like Steve Cohen comes in, takes over for Wilpon. And you make some moves, and look, now you make the NLCS. You got Lindor, you got Soto, you got something. New York's buzzing, right? Yankees obviously will always be similar to the Dodgers. They're going to be a top dog, but it shows that if you invest in your product and you build something, people will come, people will support, and that's what I think Peter Seidler's legacy shows. And I know everybody's talking about like 2027 lockout, all that stuff. I hope what people take from the Peter Seidler era of Padres baseball is that, I know it sounds corny, but like if you build it, they'll come, right? Like I was going to games in college, man, paying, $10. I'd be sitting behind home plate in like 3 innings. Now that place is packed on a Tuesday night against the Marlins. Then you look at a Marlins game, there's like 1,400 people there. Do you think if the Marlins had Peter Seidler or someone like that, they can make that shit poppin'? That's the thing. It's you need an owner that wants to win. And unfortunately in baseball right now, as you guys know, there's not a ton of those. Dodgers obviously are a thorn in my side, but if the biggest issue with them is that they're deferring money, at least they're spending money, bro. Right now, as someone whose team spent, I think we spent $1 million this offseason on major league contracts, and it was Tyler Wade. And I love T. Rizzy. That's my guy. That being said, that's not a World Series move, right? And like going from a team that was spending money and really all in, the vibes in SD, we have FanFest in like a week and a half. People are not happy.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Pirates FanFest or whatever they call it there yesterday or 2 days ago, and fans were giving them the business.
I love it.
It was uncomfortable. I love it too, but there were like chants of sell the team and all this stuff. And you got to wonder if you're going to have these FanFests, like we're in a world now where like these fans, if they're not happy, are not going to sit there quietly. And another thing, Seidler, this is a side note, another part of his legacy is we've heard stories of the whole Oakland move, leaving that team. Apparently, he had a group of owners that he had organized that were willing to stop that from happening. And then when he passed, all these other guys tucked their tail between their legs and just looked the other way and let it happen. And that's another passionate group of fans, not the greatest place in the world to play, but a passionate fan base that now does not have a baseball team.
The East Bay is great, dude. The East Bay is great.
We had, I don't know if you got, the Last Dive Bar, but we had the leader of the Last Dive Bar on here at this point months ago. And it's one of the best guest episodes we ever had because similar to you, like just the passion kind of in the opposite way because he knew he was losing a team. So it was almost demoralizing to listen to. But like it's the ownership stuff is just such a issue in baseball. And there's the good and the bad and the ugly. And unfortunately, a lot of ugly. But yes, Seidler, unbelievable legacy. It's just so unfortunate that he's gone. And just to go back to the drama, do you have a gut feeling? I know you said you don't know what to expect, but the guys that have control of the team now, like does anyone have any belief in
No.
them doing the right
So,
thing?
Dev, great point on Seidler and the Oakland thing. He passed away like 3 days after that. And after he passed away, obviously, like you said, they tucked their tails and Oakland left. Peter was the only guy that stood up for him. That's the kind of guy he was, man. Like, obviously, I didn't know him personally, but everybody I've talked to that has had interactions with him, overwhelmingly positive. Everybody was like, he was like a saint. I hope they make a statue for him outside Petco. That's really, this offseason sucked, but if they announce a statue, I'd start feeling a little better about the direction. Just you got to appreciate people like that. His brothers now own the team, or it's kind of like the estate. The reality is this: the brothers are Dodgers fans. Like, it's literally out on record that they're literally fans of another team. So that's not good. That does not make me feel good that the owner of my favorite baseball team isn't even a fan of my favorite baseball team. That's a little concerning. 2, they've never been there. So, like, they came out of nowhere. So Sheil, who's his wife, or Peter's, wife, she would be right next to him at every press conference. She was Scott Boras meeting, everything. She was right there. That whole situation, I'm not a lawyer. It's sticky. It doesn't look like it's going to be a good, it doesn't look like it's going to get figured out for, a year probably. And that being said, like Steve mentioned, like, the consequences of that are massive. The Soto thing's one thing, but also just like the Dylan Cease trade, Michael King, we're going to arbitration. This is the first year in Peller's 10 years as GM that we have a player going to arbitration.
Wow.
That's bad. And what player? I mean, Steve, you know this. Michael King's a stud. Stud. I think Michael King has good value at winning the Cy Young. Obviously, I'm a homer, but like, if you're betting, bet responsibly. But I think that's a good. I think that's a good value bet, and we're taking him over $1 million, bro. Are you serious? The same team that just handed out Xander Bogaerts a fucking $225 million deal. The dude had a 680 OPS last year. Like, what happened? And it's simple. It's like Peter was spending and wanted to win. Now we don't even know who's going to be in charge of the team. Honest take, I talked to my brother about this. I want him to get sold. And I just pray that the guy or girl or organization that buys them is down to win. That's all you could ask for. Because, like, the Dodgers were sold in 2013, 2014, McCourt, divorce, whole issue, Ponzi scheme, crazy shit. They sell to the Guggenheim Group. Look at them now.
That's true. Yeah. David
Rubenstein with the Orioles takes over. Orioles my entire life, pretty much irrelevant. Obviously, they had like the 2013, 2014 era where it's like Machado, Chris Davis, Adam Jones. But other than that, never really a sexy team. They start spending some money. Like, you need an owner that's with the Mets. Perfect example too. Like, I pray that if they do figure this out, especially if the Seidler Bros win, like, sell the team, bro. Make your money. That's all they care about is the money. Hopefully you get your bag and we get a winner because the fan base deserves it, man. Honestly, they deserve it. Like, what Peter showed us is that it's possible, and getting that taken away is almost even worse than even never knowing it was possible. You know what I mean?
So I want to go back a little bit. You mentioned Dylan Cease. I'm thinking of a game or going into game 4 NLDS. You guys are up 2-1. Fernando Tatis is out there dancing in front of the Dodger fans. Like, vibes are high. So 2-part question here. First of all, what was the feeling among Padre fans? Was it confidence? And second part, Dylan Cease, they made the decision to start him on 3 days rest, up 2-1. Before the game, did you agree with that decision?
Yeah. I'm not going to act like I'm like, oh no, I didn't believe that. I thought it was decent. Dylan had a really awesome year. Obviously, you guys know, I mean, he's one of the better pitchers in baseball. Game 1, he didn't pitch in the wild card series. Game 1 against the Dodgers, did not pitch great. And I thought, he's a competitor. He's going to want the ball. We're 1 game away from winning. You're at home. The vibes are insane. Petco's going crazy. Give him the ball, have him pitch 4 innings, and then go to the bullpen, get like a Brian Hoeing type, come in for 2 innings, and then hit the pen. He didn't have it. And you look back, and this is, it's just like, not to bring up a sore wound, but you're like, well, what if Aaron Judge catches that ball in the 5th inning, right? Like, there's a lot of things that you look back on when your team doesn't win, where you're like, shit, like, what could have been if we would have started Martin Perez? I know it doesn't sound like the sexiest guy, but Martin Perez, second half of the Pods, had like a 3.4 ERA. He was awesome. You start Martin Perez instead of Brian Hoeing or instead of Dylan Cease, and you do a bullpen game, there's a good chance we probably win that game. The issue wasn't necessarily all Dylan Cease's fault, though. He kind of put us out of it early. But, dude, 24 scoreless innings, that's all mental, man. I think they choked, honestly. I love these guys. They choked it. They completely choked it. After the moment that changed the entire – and I have a lot of Dodgers friends in my life, too. I think the moment that changed the 2024 postseason was Teoscar's home run against Michael King. It was game 3. Padres were up 6-1 after Tatis hit that absolute nuke off Walker Buehler. We are going crazy. I'm at a bar. We're going absolutely nuts. King gives up like 3 straight hits, gets an out, and then gives up a grand slam with like 2 strikes to Teoscar Hernandez. I felt the energy just get sucked out. And we ended up winning that game because we had an awesome bullpen of, Jason Adam, Tanner Scott, Robert Suarez came in, was nasty. The energy, just that grand slam, even though it didn't end up winning him that game, sucked the soul out of this team. And, we just didn't score, bro. And you look back, game 5, Yu Darvish threw a gem. He threw a gem in game 5, bro. 7 innings, gave up 2 solo shots. Kike fucking Hernandez, who I hate, and Teoscar hit a homer. And you look and you're like, dude, like, that should have been the year, man. And it sucks. Obviously, Peter dies. You go and you win a ring after that. How amazing it would have been. But as we know, sports aren't always, like the movies. So you got to take your licks. And hopefully in 2025, we start getting some magic again. But I do think that Dylan Cease, our fan base is pretty anti-Dylan Cease right now, to be completely honest. And I don't know if it's his fault.
Well, good transition there because there's a buzz about the Padres possibly moving Dylan Cease here, and we've heard similar rumblings about Robert Suarez, and you can make the hypothesis could be true that they're looking to rebuild. I don't like to use that word, but Dylan Cease right now, yeah, I mean it's a tough word to say here, especially where they were just a few years ago.
Retool.
Yeah, retool. That's the new in vogue word. But what are your thoughts on this Dylan Cease stuff? You said he's not as I guess popular among Padres fans, but
yeah, people think he's a little bit pretty quickly. People think he's he's got the Sasawfti gene. If you look, I think he had 1 start with the White Sox in the playoffs, like probably like 2021 when they had that like decent year with like Tim Anderson and everyone. And his ERA from that, I mean, it was 1 game, but wasn't great. The vibe in SD is that he is 1, Boris client, not going to re-sign. And 2, how he pitched against the Dodgers left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths. Even though he had an incredible year, through the second no-hitter in Padres history. I think he ended up with like a 3.70 ERA, almost led the league in Ks. Like, he had a great year. But a lot of fans are kind of soured. It's kind of like a what have you done for me lately? Michael King, on the other hand, he didn't pitch great against the Dodgers. We ended up winning that game. But that game at Petco against the Braves, he had like 11 Ks. I was at that game. People love Michael King, man. And I don't think that same love is for Dylan Cease. I think we have a shot at re-signing or extending Michael King. I don't think there's any shot we extend Dylan Cease. So I do think we're going to trade him. I think the 3 teams I keep hearing, and take it with a grain of salt, I don't have any sources. I wish I could tell you guys I did. Trust me, I would use it like crazy. I heard the Braves, which is where he's from. I heard the Orioles, and I also heard the Cubs are the 3 teams that I've like kind of been chattering about. Would probably rather trade him to the Orioles because they're not in the National League. And they have a ton, man. How many? I mean, you guys know, especially Steve,
everybody.
How many top prospects can you have, bro? You got
and like a factory of all the same guy. They all look the same.
It's all,
too.
Yeah, it's all the frat star, bro. You got the Control C, Control V, bro. It's all the you line them all up. You're like, it looks like Sig New, bro. You're like, what is this? But yeah, no, I would trade him to the Orioles. Heston Kjerstad's a name I keep hearing as like a guy. Obviously they don't re-sign Tony Taters, so maybe they're gonna look at Kjerstad as a guy now for them. But I think we trade Cease.
Yeah, dude, there's so much about the Orioles to dig into because right now they're creating a logjam, and then their offseason was so confusing to everybody. You kind of have the leverage here because for PR purposes at least, and for competing this year, Dylan Cease feels like you got to replace Corbin Burns, and Dylan Cease, all criticism aside, he's a frontline starter when he's right. So you can command a big price over there, and you can probably grab one of those guys. Maybe maybe a Hurston Kerstad, or maybe it's Kobe Mayo. Like maybe it's something, one of those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And you realize watching Cease, because like you guys, right? When you're a diehard, you watch almost every game. I don't think I've missed a game since like fucking 2019, which is a little concerning. But watching Dylan Cease start, man, when he's on, he is just absolute filth, and it's easy. He's an innings eater too, man. You'll come out of the game, it's 7 2/3. You're like, holy shit, that was a quick game. You're like, that was crazy. When he's on, he's really special. It's a bummer. I feel like if Peter's here, that's another guy that you probably try to re-sign. The reality of the situation is we're not going to. If between him and Cease, or him and King, I'm praying we sign King. But there's a real opportunity that both of those guys just go and test free agency and probably leave. So you probably get a lot more for Cease right now than you could in July, depending on who needs starters and everything like that. So I would trade him. And hopefully you get back a top prospect. Either we could use a lot of positions right now. Unfortunately, we got some holes. But I'd love some controllable pitching back, man. I know I talked on the stream just now about Ben Brown on the Chicago Cubs. He seems like a guy, got a lot of haters in the chat, like, oh, you can't get him for that. It's like, I think people underestimate Dylan Cease, $13 million a year. Like, that's a good deal, bro. Like, there's some pitchers getting paid a lot of money that are way worse than Dylan Cease right now. So 1 year,
especially
Dylan
for
Cease,
a win now team, if they want to win this year,
if you're, the Baltimore Orioles, where the Red Sox have the top farm in baseball, you got the Toronto Blue Jays who are making moves. The Yankees were just in the World Series. The Rays are a juggernaut. They just always just spam these, like, if they're not, creeps, they're really good players, right? No Wander Francos, hopefully, anymore. But Junior Caminero is going to be an absolute stud. So, like, the AL East is stacked. I don't even think the Orioles right now are they the third or fourth best team. You get
Maybe
Dylan
third,
Cease,
Nateable.
you get Dylan Cease, you're a lot better, because Yankees got Max Fried. The Orioles lost Corbin Burns. Who's their number one? Grayson Rodriguez. He's hurt all the time.
Yeah. Zach Eflin, like at the
Eflin,
maybe, I don't know.
Nice enough guy, but you're like
Trevor Rogers.
You're like, come on, bro. Like, yeah, and like I don't know, man. I think there's teams that need to trade for, or that need a frontline starter. And given the Padres' financial situation right now, it might be advantageous to trade him. Even though people will shit on us for saying that. They'll be like, oh, you don't want to win? No, I want to win. I want a competitive team for the rest of the 2020s. I don't just want to go all in on 2025, make the wild card and maybe lose in the NLDS. And then Cease leaves, King leaves, all these guys leave, and then we suck. I'd much rather have a deeper team for a long time. So we'll see. Preller's a good guy to have as GM when it comes to situations like this.
Yeah, he's not afraid to trade. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
Ben Brown is actually a Long Island kid, so he's
Nice.
from around where we are.
Yeah.
The Cubs system, just like the Orioles system, is loaded. I know they moved some guys for the Tucker deal, but they're still loaded. I want to ask you about a guy you traded for at the beginning of last season. He's become this like polarizing figure among baseball fans of whether he's good or not. Yeah, just out of that description, I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. You said you haven't missed a game since 2019, so you watched this guy nightly last year, or daily. Luis Arias, what do you think his future with the Padres is, and do you think they're better with him?
Dude, the Venezuelan bad boy is what I call him. He's freaking awesome, dude. Baseball has become, anybody who's watched Moneyball can tell you, such an analytically heavy game, right? And I think if you believe that analytics don't matter, you're an idiot. But I also think sometimes stats like WAR can be a little bit misleading. You watch a guy like Luis Arias, year in and night in, night out. When he's healthy, people forget this too. We were watching, it was June of this year, playing the Royals. He dove into second base and he fucked up his thumb. Like his hand was fucked. And he ended up playing through it for the rest of the year. He won a batting title with pretty much like a broken hand. Like, I'm not making excuses for the guy. He didn't play well in the playoffs, but this dude was hurt and he still played and he still won a batting title. He didn't strike out for like 200 something consecutive at-bats. As a fan of baseball and not a fan of just numbers, I love Luis Arias. I think he's such an incredible player. Coming from a franchise, Mr. Padre, Tony Gwynn, a lot of comparisons. I don't think he's Tony Gwynn. Tony Gwynn's obviously first ballot Hall of Famer, the king of San Diego. Everybody loves him. Luis Arise, I didn't get to watch Tony in his prime. I'm too young. So watching Luis Arise, my older friends or, people that we met through the community that watched Tony say he reminds me a lot of Tony Gwynn. And just watching him and watching how he takes at bats, I would like him to walk a little bit more. Sometimes he swings at some crazy ass pitches, but he's awesome. He's awesome. I honestly love him. And I know he's a polarizing player. I'm nervous that we won't extend him. I also think it's a really interesting conversation of what he's worth, because I don't think he's a great defensive player and he's not fast. But if you love watching someone hit as a fan of the sport, as an entertainment sport, he's awesome. Is he the most valuable guy though? No. And I've heard both arguments, and I know this is kind of a cop out, but I kind of get both sides. I like him though.
Yeah, the thing is, too, with the defensive stuff, we had this conversation on here and even in our group chat about baseball. Even if he was a mediocre defensive player, he would be, one of those players we talked about as being one of the best of this generation. But because of the fact that I wouldn't say inept on that side of the ball, but the fact that he is making contact. You mentioned that stat, over 200 bats not striking out. That's unheard of, especially in a game that strikeouts are just duplicated all throughout this game. Every single game, and people look past it. So it's an interesting take, but you have the experience watching up close and personal. I think a lot of fans, especially the East Coast bias, people will just look at the back of the scorecard and say like, or watch highlights, and maybe they're not as excited because they're looking for the highlights on ESPN situation.
Exactly. I also heard the Yankees are a team that have been like asking about him a little bit. And you put him in that lineup, man, like, as like kind of, ironically enough, table setter, and you have, Judge, you have all these Stanton. Watching him on your favorite team, bro, he's awesome. Like, the Padres fans love him. Like, he's just a really likable guy. 3 straight batting titles. Like, in a game now where we really appreciate the 5 tools, right? You watch a guy like Tatis who's fast. He could hit bombs. He could hit he could do all this crazy stuff. Arise isn't a 5-tool player, but his one tool is so good that it makes you like, dude, it's electric. Like, there's been players like, you guys remember Jared Dyson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jared Dyson, right? Jared Dyson's not going to hit a home run, but you put him on first base in a big game, he's stealing you a bag. Like, there's guys like that are like fan favorites that you really want on your team. Arise is one of those guys for me. I do think his contract's going to be, very interesting what he ends up getting if it's with the Padres or whatever team, because you can't, like, with how the game's play now, like, how do you, like, what would you guys, if you guys were GMs, what would you guys offer him as a contract? Because you're like, all he could really do is hit singles, maybe a couple doubles, and put 5 bombs, 6 bombs a year.
Well, to touch on the Yankee thing for a second, I think it's a perfect storm that they won't work it out because of really all the backlash of how shitty defensively they played, especially in the World Series.
Yeah, that was tough, dude.
But I just feel like on a normal season, like this year, clearly they're trying to shore up the defense because they were embarrassed on the biggest stage. So maybe in a different time and space, maybe next offseason, you know what I mean? Or during the season, they'd go for it when some of that black cloud of the defensive embarrassment, because that's what it was, whether it was the Judge catch, but it was all season. Gleyber Torres couldn't his way out of a paper bag, which is why he's not here anymore. So I think that plays a part of the Yankees right now.
That's what's awesome too about, sorry, Dev, being on the West Coast is MLB TV, man, is awesome. I watch a ton of Yankees games. So it's kind of the reverse East Coast bias, right? So I get to watch all of the East Coast games from like 4:00 on, and then obviously watch the pods later. But like, it's really fun to watch a lot of these teams. So I watch, John Sterling on the call and all those guys, Michael Kay, like all those dudes. And with I think the Mets have, honestly, other than, I'm a little biased with Don and Mud, but I think the Mets booth is incredible too.
Oh yeah. I'm biased as well, but I can watch games even when they were bad. I can watch those games because of those 3 guys in the booth.
Man, they're legends.
It's unbelievable. Just to touch on Arias as well, as far as like what to pay him, it's tricky because as a Met fan watching Jeff McNeil, like, he was in that Arias zone, not quite as good, but won a batting title, and we paid him and extended him, and the contract's not crazy, so it's not hurting us too much. But like, when that kind of guy loses that one tool a little bit, like, what is he doing for you? And that's kind of watching Jeff McNeil now. It's like, what is he doing for us? Like, he's like average defender, can hit the ball out of the ballpark every once in a while, can play multiple positions. But Arias, I think he'll probably hold on to that skill better than Jeff did, but that's the only worry when you're trying to pay a guy like that.
I like Jeff McNeil. What do you guys call him in Mets country? Squirrel or something like that?
Yeah, it's the squirrel.
Yeah, dude. Like, that's an awesome nickname. I'm a big nickname guy. So I like that. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Dev. I think with the rise, we saw it. Honestly, we kind of saw what happens when the hit tool isn't as great as it should be. And that's whenever he would re-injure that thumb or hand,
Right.
he would just go. And like when he's not hitting, bro, it's brutal. Like the weak ground outs to second base, like 0 for 4, shitty defense and can't run. You're like, dude, this fucking sucks. You're like, this is brutal, dude.
Right.
So when he does have it, but when he's on, it's electric. So it's I will say this. There's a reason he's the most polarizing player in baseball. And I get both arguments as a diehard fan of watching him night in, night out for the last year. Completely understand both arguments. That being said, game on the line, you need a guy to get in, runner on third, 1 out, 2 outs. I'm putting in a rise, bro, over almost anyone, even Tatis or any of those guys, because he'll get you a knock. It's not going to be a homer, but he'll poke one into right center and get a knock and win the game. His first game as a Padre was a walk-off against the Dodgers, which is pretty cool, too.
So you mentioned some of the stuff with this offseason and we said it tongue-in-cheek with Maldonado and the signing before he got on here, but there was a graphic circulating on Twitter today comparing the 2025 WAR projections at the start of free agency the way they stand now. So the Dodgers, the Mets, the Red Sox, and the Rangers have all made the gains that we expect from them.
Yeah.
And the Padres projection, as expected, remains unchanged. So it's clearly been a tough offseason, but right now we still have a month until spring training. There are some big name free agents out there, namely a guy like Jerickson Profar. Is there anything you're hoping they accomplish before they take the field, pack the bags, and go over to spring training?
Yeah, Steve. So Profar is our guy. So I don't know. I know you guys, we've started kind of getting connected within like the last month, but a big thing for us, I would say we kind of created it, but some people are, they disagree, but we really ran with it. We call this thing, it's called VAR, which is vibes above replacement. And it's kind of like our catchphrase a little bit with the DSG. And Profar has always been VAR, man. And it's the stuff that doesn't show up on Fangraphs. And it's, the vibes, and it's showing up for your team, and, the energy and the extra flair, and, just the vibes. And we call him Provar, all this stuff. So we sent him our first ever shirt we made, which was in March or April. We sent him the merch. He wore it, gave it to the whole team. Bro, Profar is my guy for life. I love that dude. If there's one guy I'd bring back, honestly, it's Pro. Strictly because I think my brother posted this stat. We both run the Twitter. But I think the Padres, since Profar came over from the A's in 2020, I think the Padres record with Profar, obviously he wasn't on our team for a little bit of the time during 2023. Padres record with Profar, I think we're 60 or 70 games over 500 since he's been a Pod. He just gels with the team. Tatis, it works out with him in the offseason. He's well beloved in the community. His son, they all live in Coronado. They play on him and Craig Stammen are coaches of a little league team. There's a community aspect there. And I think with Pro having such an especially incredible first half of the season, tampered off a little bit in the second, but made an all-star team, $1 million contract. I think for the fan base, give him a 2-year 26 or a 3-year, $32 million contract. And if he gets offered a shit ton of money somewhere else, that's my guy for life. I'm cool with him, man. He's a really, really awesome dude. I want him back on the Pods really bad. But if he gets an overwhelming deal by the Astros or the Braves or someone like that, hey, you got one more. He's 32, 31. Got one more shot to make some money. I get it. But I love him.
So I'm going to give you a hypothetical here. Your life depends on it. You have to make the right choice. Here are your 3 choices. Manny Machado, MVP within the next 2 years. Fernando Tatis, MVP within the next 5 years. Or Jackson Merrill, MVP within the next 10 years.
Oh, man. That's tough because I do think I think the East Coast, I don't know if you guys know how nasty fucking Jackson Merrill is, dude. This guy
killed my Mets, so I got a little
Jackson
taste.
Merrill, oh yeah, off that walk-off.
Yeah, that sucked.
Dude.
That sucked a lot.
That was one of my favorite games of the season. Dude, that's a good one. I would say I think the ship sailed on Manny, sadly, only because with Ohtani in the same age bracket as Manny, I think it's probably going to be his to lose for the next couple years. I think the move is, bro, I would hammer him this year. Toddy MVP, bro. Just give him a healthy year. Because people forget, bro. That guy hasn't had a full healthy season for better or for worse since 2019. And even 2019, he was hurt. So if you give, and you guys can clip this all you want. Give me 155 games of Fernando Tatis Jr. I think he hits 50 home runs, plays Gold Glove defense. And I think he leads us to the playoffs, honestly. Regardless of what moves we make, regardless of who we bring back, regardless of any of that stuff, I think he's that good. And you saw it in the playoffs when I think there was like a stat for like the first 5 games. He had like a 2,200 OPS, some crazy shit, bro, dude. He was hitting, it was beach balls to him. He's one of those guys, bro. He just loves being on the big stage. He is too. You guys probably see it, but if you're talking like beloved in San Diego, he is the king, bro. People love him, but Merrill's getting up there too. And like the Merrill thing is a perfect example too. Like if Peter was alive, he'd already be extended. And the fact that he's not, and he's 21, that's 5 years down the road, but that's not going to be a fun day when we have to figure out if we're going to keep him or not. But I would say Tatis is my answer. Great question too.
So if we're going to be building this team, obviously, if they're not going to be spending, it's going to be through the prospect pool. And right now, I mean, number one prospect of the system, Ethan Salas, that's the guy everyone's talking about. But is there a prospect? Maybe it's him, but is there someone else in the system that excites you heading to the future that you can look forward to? Who's the next Jackson Merrill out there?
Oh, bro, you guys got to buy stock on my guy, Leo Dallas DeVries. You got to buy stock on Leo, and you got to buy stock now, bro. Because Leo, his nickname, El Mutante, the mutant.
Love that.
How sick is
Love
that
that
one, bro? Leo Dallas DeVries is the truth, bro. I hope Salas is good. He had a really bad last season. He's still young, but he didn't really hit nearly what we need him to hit if you want him to be what we thought he was going to be. I still think he's going to be solid because defensively he's great. And if he ends up being a defense first catcher and he has a decent MLB career, great. That's huge. If we have the catcher of the future in him, doesn't need to be, fucking Cal Raleigh. Could be just a decent catcher. I'm cool with it, especially for, a team that's probably not going to be spending a lot of money in the future. Leo Dallas DeVries is a superstar. Like that's the guy that I think will shoot up prospect rankings. He'll be up this time next year. We'll start talking about him being on the team. And I think he'll have a Jackson Merrill type rookie season. Like I really think he's going to be a massive star, like switch hitter, hits nukes, hits the ball super hard, plays good defense. Follow him on Instagram, man. That guy's all about the grind, bro. All he does is post pictures of him working out. All he does is post pictures of him in the cage. That guy's just hungry, bro. And he kind of reminds me a little bit of, I wouldn't say Tatis hype levels, but it gives me a little bit of the similar vibe. Obviously, Dominican Republic. But he's giving me a little bit of like young Tatis energy, like 2016, 2017, when we were like, I don't know if you guys remember, but Tatis and Luis Urias were like supposed to be the future. It was supposed to be Tatis at short, Luis Urias at second. Those were the guys. Perfect example of how sometimes prospects work out, sometimes prospects don't work out. I think Leo has a lot of Toddy vibes in him, man. I'm excited to see his future.
Was Tatis the guy? Was he who you got back in wasn't it the James Shields?
Ball, Dev. Ball. 2016, baby. He was I wouldn't say throw-in, but it was actually for a guy named Eric Johnson was the pitcher we got back. And they added on a 16-year-old kid from the Dominican Republic in the deal. And it was Fernando Tatis Jr., dad, obviously, Tatis Sr., who hit the 2 grand slams against the Dodgers in the same inning. But man, if we're talking about, you look back on your life, right, as a sports fan, and you think of moments that really changed the trajectory of an organization. If there's one moment of the last 10 years, I'd say 2. Manny Machado signing in 2019 and then the Tatis trade are the 2 biggest things that have ever happened to the Pods, at least honestly in my lifetime. They made the World Series in 98, got swept by Steve's Yankees. But I was not watching that, sadly. But since then, man, I would say the 2 biggest moments were probably the Tatis trade and Manny signing in 2019.
I got to ask. So obviously, as a Met fan, I have
Yeah.
stock now in Juan Soto for 15 years.
Uh,
There's one story I've heard a couple times about his time in San Diego that reportedly there was some tension, or he and Manny Machado didn't exactly get along or see eye to eye. Was that like a known, talked about thing
Yeah.
in San Diego?
Yeah, Soto's time was interesting, right? Because like we trade for him 2022, we go on that run. So I think people also like outside of, and it makes sense because not everybody's, everybody has their own team to worry about. But I think people forget what the Juan Soto trade really was. So we give up CJ Abrams, Mackenzie Gore, Harlan Suzana, Robert Hassel. We gave up a king's ransom, right, for Juan Soto. We were the number 3 farm system in baseball at the time. We go all in. We get Soto. Toddy was supposed to be returning the week after we traded for Soto. So Tatis injured himself in the Dominican. He, fell down on his motorcycle, injured himself. So he's getting back. So we're seeing pictures of him, working out and everything. We're like, hell yeah. We just traded for Soto. Tatis is coming back. We're going to go on a run. So we trade for Soto. I'm at my girlfriend's place, and I get the notification from John Heyman, and it's Tatis suspended for 80 games for PEDs. That was legitimately 3 days before he was supposed to debut in 2022. So we instantly lose him, right? And the whole plan was we get a year and a half or 2.5 years of Soto, and Peter's still alive, and all this crazy stuff. And we're going to have Tatis, Manny, Soto, all this crazy shit. 2022, we go on that run, make the NLCS, lose to the Phillies. 2023, we have the Fan Fest picture where it's like Tatis, Xander, Manny. It's memed a lot. I won't lie. It gets a lot of memes from Dodgers fans too. But it's like them all there, and it's like kind of like the Heat back in the day where it's like, we're not going to win 1 championship. We're not going to win 2. Incredibly memed photo. 2023 was, if you talk to any Padres fan, probably the worst year ever just because of the hype and just how shitty it was. Bob Melvin, all this crazy stuff. Soto was rumored to be a pretty big eye guy. And I don't even know if it was his fault because the clubhouse was just a mess in general. But Soto's whole thing was that like he would take batting practice alone. He would do all this stuff. This is what the rumors were. He obviously was looking for one thing and one thing only, and that was the bag. He, with the Nationals, turns down $440 million. Ends up, that's a crazy deal to turn down. So you got to ball out to get even close to that much money. He also, if you look at his stats in San Diego, kind of misleading. It felt like he wasn't that good, but you look, he's like fucking 34 bombs, like a 900 OPS. You're like, damn, bro, I thought this guy was way worse than that. He was like one of the only good players in 2023. I think as a Mets fan, the deal is insane. But when you have an owner like Steve Cohen who's invested in the product, you're going to be all right, and all you need is him to, win you 1 ring, and that's a fucking good deal. And my biggest issue, and what I've talked to my buddies about, if I was a Mets fan, the only thing I'd be scared of is him getting fat, honestly. Like, dude, you get that much money, and you're set for 15 years, and you're 26, 27. Bro, New York, I was out there, like I said, there's some good food out there, bro. I'd be a little nervous about that, but no, I like Soto, man. Having him on your team's awesome. Sometimes I used to get pissed because sometimes he would take a walk instead of, runner on second and third with like 2 outs and, we're down 1, and he'd look to walk rather than look to drive someone in. So that would piss me off and my brother off a little bit. But I mean, there's a reason why he got paid that much. And as a Mets fan, I feel like you guys are going to like him. I don't know if Frank the Tank's going to like him too much in a couple of years, but we'll see.
Oh, I mean, Frank the Tank doesn't like anybody.
So
Frankie Fleming.
Matt, there was a comparison image going around social media that showed for a period of time Brian Giles was putting up Juan Soto-like numbers, and you commented that you once threw lemon heads at Brian Giles. Can you give everybody here at Table Setters that story?
Yeah, dude, of course. Brian Giles. So this was like 2000, man. So I was 3rd grade. So nice. So yeah, like probably 2004, 2005, Petco, early stages of a stadium. And B. Giles was like one of the main pieces. Padres won the NL West 2005, 2006 too. So we were a pretty decent squad. NL West was way weaker than it is now. I think we won like 82 games. So got smacked by Pujols' Cardinals both years. But that team was all right. And, Peavy was on it. But yeah, we sat in right field. I think it was like a summer, like your school like goes like as like a group to like the games or whatever. And yeah, like I remember the usher coming at me and being like, if you keep throwing those, like you're gonna get kicked out. And it ended up being like a sign because like in college, I got at Cal Poly, we had this section called the Krukow section. I don't know if you guys remember John Krukow. He's actually now the announcer for the Giants, like beloved announcer, but played a couple years in the bigs. And he went to our college. He went to Cal Poly. So did Ozzie Smith. And there's a section called the Krukow section, which is all you can drink, all you can eat until the 7th inning. So I actually set a record there for most times kicked out of the Krukow section. So I feel like it was a sign. My 3rd grade self almost getting kicked out. A lot different ways to get kicked out when you're 21 than when you're like 9. But yeah, no. Brian Giles, those stats are crazy. I mean, dude, the steroid era stats are the best to look up. Like I remember, I don't know if you guys have seen, but I'll be on TikTok sometimes and they'll show like the 1997 Rockies, and you see like Dante Jet, fucking all these crazy ass dudes, bro. And you're like, what? You're like, these stats are insane, bro. 286, 45 homers. You're like, Larry Walker had it like that, bro. Larry Walker was a stud, bro.
Dude, there was a year I always think of Brady Anderson on the Orioles hitting 50.
Yep.
It's like, what?
They were giving him that stuff, bro. Brady Anderson was special. That was when steroids were at its peak, bro. Everybody always says like, oh, Barry Bonds, all this stuff. It's like, bro, Barry Bonds is always good. Brady Anderson was a nobody, has one good year, and then he's gone. Like that's I gotta love it though. Like honestly, and obviously with Tatis, like you gotta kind of be pro steroids if you're a Tatis fanboy. So I'm with it.
Are you a Lemonhead guy still, or you just happen to have on?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, big sweets guy. Got to work on that. I'm doing dry January, which is good. So yeah, so dry January's been good, but yeah, sweets. The sweets are tough, bro. Lemon heads are definitely sour punch straws. All that good stuff.
Good.
All right, Matt. So we're gonna have 2 more questions for you here, a little more lighthearted. As you can see, we're going here with the lemon heads. As a Met fan again, flashback to 2022. Mets play the Padres. You guys take this down. There's one moment I still don't feel like we have the whole story. I want you to give me an answer here. Joe Musgrove's ears. Why and how could they have been that shiny?
Oh, bro, you gotta that's a tough one.
Give me something.
There's a couple of things there's a couple ways I could answer this. I think with Musgrove, with the ear situation, I'm trying to think of a way to put it where I will say I understand the Mets fans' perspective, but if there was an issue, you probably should have brought it up in the 1st inning rather than the 6th inning after he's been shoving. There's a reason why Buck Showalter's on MLB Network now, and not the manager of the New York Mets. But yeah, no, I mean, I understand, bro. You win 100 games and you get bounced by the Pods, I'd be pissed, dude. So I totally get that. That was a fun series for us. That was one of my and now look at you guys. You got Soto. We're having a succession episode as ownership. You guys ended up winning after all, so congrats. But you let us have that one.
That was the Scherzer DeGrom year, and DeGrom was like in and out of the rotation. We still won 101 games, but we won 101 games and didn't win the division because the Braves caught us at the end and had the tiebreaker. Once that happened, you knew we were going nowhere in the playoffs. But the Musgrove thing, man, I just have that picture in my head of how damn shiny his ears are. It will never leave my brain because I've never seen an ear like that.
It's a go-to GIF on Padres Twitter too. It's definitely a big one. People go like that. Yeah, no, that was a crazy series, man. I had some buddies that went to those games. That was wild. I was shocked we won. That was fun.
So Matt, as we wrap up here again, we appreciate your time.
Sorry, my Wi-Fi is a little shaky.
Oh, it's all good. It's probably not the Wi-Fi. It's just StreamYard being finicky. It always does that thing. But
sorry about that, guys. Dude, thank you guys so much, man.
Of course, man. So as we wrap up here, we have a final question. If you were to create a Mount Rushmore of San Diego athletes, who would make the cut and why? Not just Padres. You can obviously throw some Bolts players in there. Maybe there's some other San Diego athletes you want to throw in there.
This is a good one. So we talk about this a decent amount, like me and my buddies. I would say number 1, Tony Hawk, legend.
Love that.
Tony Hawk's a boy. I would say number 2, Tony Gwynn. And this is in no order either. So I'd say Tony Gwynn, Tony Hawk, LaDainian Tomlinson, And fourth, maybe Junior Seau. Junior Seau is a ledge. The fourth is a tough one. I know some people are going to get pissed I said LT instead of Trevor Hoffman, but I would say it's probably, if you weren't, I'd say that the right answer, and not my favorite, the right answer is probably Tony Gwynn, Trevor Hoffman, Junior Seau, and LT. And then I would say the fun answer is Tony Hawk, Rey Mysterio, Tatis. Tatis. And maybe Shaun White. Shaun White's a dog, bro. That's another San Diego ledge. Maybe Phil Mickelson too. I don't know. That's fun. We had some fun guys from SD for sure.
Yo, Ray was rocking those Padres inspired tights on SmackDown. All the brown and gold. They look epic.
We're wrestling fans.
I'm a big wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, dude, we should. Hey, if you guys ever want to have me on back, we could just talk. We could talk Royal Rumble, anything like that, bro. I'm a huge WWE guy. I love that stuff.
Let's do it.
Well, Matt, you got to follow me on Instagram. I'm actually an independent wrestling ring announcer, so that's what I do on the side over here. So.
Oh, bro, yeah. Steve, you got to send me. Hey, send me that right after this, bro. I will. I went to an event. So I went to WrestleMania in LA last year, 2023. Incredible.
So you threw the rubber chicken at Cody. Then that was you, then, right?
Adrenaline. No. Yeah, dude. It's WWE's. I mean, it's funny. I kind of got out of it in high school a little bit, and then I got back into it in college. Like I just like kind of like come home from the bars and like throw on like an old SmackDown, and I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. And then they had an event me and my brother went to, and we got totally back into it. The moment before we call it an F, I know you guys, it's late over there. The moment I knew that I was back into WWE was went to the event, and the Uso brothers weren't doing the whole tribal shit anymore. They were doing like this whole new thing, and I was like, oh, I was like, damn. I'm like, all right, like, and then the whole bloodline storyline, it was awesome.
So good, yeah.
Dude, it's been so good, and the Rumble obviously is one of my favorite events of the year. It's gonna be it's at a football stadium this year. They're stepping up their game, dude. This is not like mom and pops wrestling anymore. They're like not just WrestleMania at football stadiums. They're running big arenas for every event. Elimination Chamber, like Skydome is hosting Elimination Chamber this year. It's crazy.
What would be your guys' favorite event to go to?
One that I've been to, or like just the flagship of the event? Because like I've been to
a wrestling event. Because I would say I would rather go to a Royal Rumble than any event. I just think the Royal Rumble with the surprises and everything are so electric.
I think I'd pick the Rumble too.
Yeah, I was at 2008 Rumble when Cena made that return from that torn bicep, and he nobody knew. And I remember going into that Rumble. It was one of the, usually, as a wrestling fan, there's like the favorites. And
you're on the dirt sheet.
People think you don't know who it's going to be, and like nobody knew that Cena was going to come back. And we full circle talking about PEDs and performance enhancing drugs of some sort. John Cena broke that timeline, dude. He came back. It was supposed to be like a 12-month injury. He was back in like 4, so he came out, tossed all those dudes over, and then went to WrestleMania. Good shit.
Bro, those are the best. That's what I love about social media now too. Is like there's so many good like TikTok edits and stuff of like Rey Mysterio and Cena and all these dudes. Edge was my guy growing up. Like I love WWE, man. WWE baseball, man. I'm telling you, table setters, they do it right.
Hell yeah. Well, you can check out Edge right now. He's in AEW. Now he's known as just Cope, affectionately. COPE.
He's looking old.
What's your take? Dude, he looks old, bro. He fumbled really that. Old. That was not I've met Edge. I met Edge at Comic-Con in San Diego, which was sick. He's a ledge. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I feel like AEW, I thought MJF had the sauce, and now he's falling off. You're like, man, what happened? Before I call it, or before I head out, I know, like I said, it's late. If you were to say one wrestler you would, pick, if you're like, MLB team, you could sign a free agent. Any wrestler in the biz right now, who are you taking?
Man, if you're starting today.
Under franchise, and I'm talking January 22nd, 2025. So I'm not talking like, you could pick Cena, but he's got like one more year left. I'm talking right. With age and everything like that. I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say.
Man, I'm probably going with Will Ospreay just because I think he's the best wrestler in the world. And like, I don't think he's the biggest superstar, but if you put the machine behind him, I think he could be any, you put the WWE machine behind him, I think he could be an absolute huge star like Roman Reigns is. And I think Roman right now is the biggest star in wrestling, but like you said with Cena, how many years does he have left before he goes to Hollywood? So I'm going with Will Ospreay.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a
dude.
tough one.
Roman's about to be doing like two matches a year, bro. He's
100%.
chilling.
Well,
What were
that's
you
the
saying,
thing. A lot of the names that pop in my head, you don't know how long they have left. Like Cody says he's gonna have like 4 or 5 years. Or Seth Rollins comes out, like he just talked about how he can have a good match with anybody, and I think he's right. Again, he's banged up too, but
Yeah.
I'd go him or McIntyre just because I feel like they can have
Oh, I
good matches
love
with anyone.
both those dudes.
I went to SummerSlam when I was like, I think maybe a freshman in high school, and it was in LA. And Drew McIntyre was wrestling the match outside the arena, like it was like a free match. And so, like, dude, I'm always gonna be a fan of that fool, bro, because he went from rocket ship, Vince. He was the Broken Dream. He came in and he was gonna be the guy, like beat the Undertaker.
Chosen one.
Yeah, chosen one. And then obviously falls off. And like, I love the dudes that like go to the indies, find themselves, come back.
Oh yeah,
to Cody.
For sure.
100%.
You know what? You guys want to hear mine real quick? Jacob
go
Fatu,
for it.
baby. Jacob
That's a good
Fatu.
one.
Hey, put all your stock in that fool, bro. Because his promos, especially when he was on the indie scene, that's a scary motherfucker, bro. Like that's real, like, wrestling with where it's going. And like, I think Triple H is doing a really good job of it. They're starting to make it feel, everybody knows wrestling is, predetermined. But how they're starting to do it is to make it seem like, oh, this is like some real shit, right? Like even like the backstage or Twitter videos of like KO like being pissed that he like won the belt and like all of that stuff. Triple H gets it. And I think Jacob Fatu is going to be next up. I like Solo too. I like Dom Mysterio. I think WWE is in a really good spot.
So
No
you
doubt.
mentioned like the whole thing with like making it feel real. WWE just actually hired a few years ago Lee Fitting from ESPN, and he comes with a whole bunch of controversy. He was like fired from ESPN for sexual harassment, which is the last thing they need to bring in. But he's being credited with a lot of the immersive stuff. So if you notice like some of the camera shots, you're following Sami Zayn through the back. So after his entrance, and then it's leading right into a Jey Uso segment and making the backstage area look like a living, breathing environment. So I think it's added a lot to the production. They no longer do those jerky cuts that Kevin Dunn used to do. So,
dude, Kevin Dunn. You guys,
all of that dude is the main.
I'm assuming you guys are on the Squared Circle subreddit, given your.
I am. I'm a lurker for sure over there. Yeah.
First time, yeah. It's like, also before I know I keep asking. Two things. One, you guys having me on. This was awesome, man. We're boys for life. I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate anyone that listened. Make sure to subscribe to Table Setters. These guys are awesome. And I love what you guys are doing for baseball. We need more people like you guys. So I appreciate you guys having me on. Secondly, dude, it's just WWE is in such a. I just am really excited to see with the Netflix era and everything like that. I really think WWE is kind of having a second renaissance, similar to like Attitude Era, like culturally. So I'm actually buddies with Cole Tucker, who's married to Vanessa Hudgens.
Yeah.
Vanessa Hudgens has been Cole Tucker, former Pirates player,
right?
Yeah,
best dude of all time. So my best friend, one of my best friends from growing up, is Sean Bouchard. He plays for the Rockies. Kind of might compete for like the left field spot. And one of my best friends, his boy is Cole Tucker. So I met him through Cole. Cole is the biggest WWE guy of all time, like a diehard fan. So that's how Vanessa got into it. And so they've been going to like all these backstage stuff because obviously she's a superstar.
So cool.
And he's gonna he's hoping to get into WWE, like work and like be a be a part of WWE, like maybe like
wow.
Yeah, so he's trying to be like I'm not sure in what capacity. I don't think he's gonna be a wrestler, but great dude, super personable. And I hope if he ends up being WWE, we could say Table Setters broke the news. So
there you go. And dude, there's a lot of roles in wrestling that aren't in the ring. Like me, for example, I show up and I do my stuff with independence, and I don't have to ever take a bump. So maybe.
Hey, I was gonna ask, have you ever taken a bump?
I have in practice runs, but never in a show. Maybe one day.
Are you in the same? Because I know you guys are in New York. Did you ever get to see Big Boom AJ in a match or no?
No, but I actually met Big Boom AJ at Hammerstein Ballroom during the AW Dynamite. He was just walking around. I have a picture with him on my Instagram. Was the nicest dude ever.
Oh yeah, he's a positive cat, man.
He was like, he was like recording videos of people, like anyone that wanted to talk to him. He was awesome, and like honestly, the whole Costco guy stuff like rubbed me the wrong way a little bit on wrestling, but like he made me a fan for life, dude. Like he was the nicest guy, and you can't help but root for him,
Yeah, dude, like it's cool to see a dude like that, right? Just like pure positivity. Like, regardless, I know everybody's kind of like anti and all that stuff, but like it's pretty awesome, dude. I'm a big Boom AJ guy, and watching him being with Tony Khan and AEW is pretty cool.
It was really cool. But again, you're always welcome on here, and you guys make sure you guys follow on Instagram at Devine Sports Gospel and on X at Devine Gospel for all the conversations from Matt and everything that's going on over the San Diego Padres. Again, dude, we look forward to having you back on here during the season and discussing what's going on with the Padres, potentially good or bad. So, Devin, any final thoughts before we let Matt go?
No, Matt, if there's just anything else you want to plug yourself, I know we gave your handle out there, but anything you guys are doing, now's the time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate, like I said, Table Setters, I appreciate you guys having me on a lot. This was an awesome conversation. And I know it's late over there in New York, so I do appreciate you guys staying up and working with me. I would just say, if you're into San Diego sports and, you want to, check out some fun stuff, we're on YouTube, X, TikTok, all the good stuff. And, it's just fun. We like to have a good time and, talk a lot of baseball, but all sports and everything. So appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate everybody listening.
Hell yeah, man. We'll be back in 1 second to wrap up the episode. All right, we want to thank Matt Devine again for joining us here. What a great episode this was, talking all things San Diego sports. It took us in all different directions, but we wound up back on the Padres, and somehow always, Travis, we wound up talking about wrestling.
I was going to say, we have to squeeze in a sorry Trav there. I usually like to put that one in there. But, yeah, man, that's entertainment, dude. That's entertainment. You never know where it's going to take you. That's probably the most I've ever laughed during an episode of Table Setters.
Yeah, for real, dude. Matt is an absolute blast to have on here. We're looking forward to having him back on here talking about the Padres. And again, if you guys want to support the show, you can follow us on the IG and also on X at Table Setters Pod, posting all the content. Most of the conversations happening on the X machine. Devin's posting over there. If you guys haven't followed us there, please do so. A lot of polls happening, a lot of conversations about the episodes. Devin's doing a good job engaging everybody. Some positive, some negative, of course, but it's always driving conversation, keeping baseball in the psyche, right?
Yeah, no doubt. That's how we get conversation going. I don't expect everyone to agree with everything we say. I don't want everyone to agree on everything we say. It's more entertaining if we have some discussion. And follow us on YouTube. Subscribe on YouTube as well. Just getting started there at Table Setters Baseball is the handle on YouTube. So we'd really appreciate it if you could do that for us as well.
So on our way out, we're going to play that rant one more time because it's so beautiful. 54 seconds of greatness from Devine Sports Gospel. Make sure you guys follow them as well. And for Matt and his brother over there doing great things. So we're going to post that. We're going to just play that video quick and we'll be out of here and we'll talk to you after a while.
They don't know pain. They do not know pain.
They don't know pain, bro.
Dude, that's my issue with these fuckers. My issue with these fuckers, bro, on Twitter. Oh my God, I really can't emotionally prepare myself for when if he doesn't sign with us. Why do you care? You had everything. You had Shohei Ohtani making $2 million on your team.
The football team, bro. They got our football team.
Player of our fucking lifetime is on your team playing for $2 million, and you're gonna sit here and say, "Oh my gosh, I'm gonna crash out if we don't get Sasaki." Why the fuck would you crash out? You have everything on a silver platter handed to you. Everything. We're begging for scraps. And Sasaki is the one main course that we can maybe get. Okay? And it's dog food to you fuckers, right? But for us, this is a filet. This is a T-bone. This is a fucking tomahawk steak. Okay? I'm tired of it.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible